Well, with the recent release of Lightyear onto Disney Plus, we now have 5 entries into the main Toy Story franchise. And to me, 5 is kind of that magic number where I feel like I can start ranking a series. That and really I just want an excuse to talk about Toy Story.
Yeah, sure, you go ahead.
So today we're going to talk about all 5 movies in the series, from least awesome to most awesome. Is the camera off? Finally. Buzz Lightyear, Self-Star Command. To infinity and beyond. Now, when it comes to an opinion video like this, a ranking video, it's just that. This is one person's subjective opinion. And even though I clearly have the right opinion,
You know, that's just like, your opinion, man.
it's okay if you disagree with me. In fact, I love it when people disagree with me, because it gives us something to talk about. Yes, I'm still holding Buzz. The important thing is you just do it in a respectful manner, both to me and in other people in the comments. But with that being said, please drop your ranking in the comments down below. Tell me why I'm wrong. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so starting off my list at number 5 is gonna be the new kid on the block, Lightyear. And this is the only movie in the franchise that I'm really not a fan of. Like, I even waited until it came to Disney Plus so I could watch it another time out of theaters, just to see if my feelings had changed. Unfortunately, I don't feel any different about this movie. I will say, in Lightyear's defense, it's not like I'm saying this is just like an outright terrible film. It's just unfortunate that it's compared to the Toy Story movies. There are some redeeming qualities about Lightyear. First and foremost, the animation just looks amazing. Like, even if I don't prefer this style of hyper-realism, I don't know, I just like my animated movies to feel a little more animated. There's no denying that it's absolutely gorgeous. Other than that, I would say some of the jokes land, other than one character that we'll get to in the negatives. I love the friendship between Buzz and Alicia, and then of course, Socks is a total badass.
That was utterly terrifying, and I regret having joined you.
But I think where they really messed up is just making this a Buzz Lightyear story as opposed to like an original sci-fi Pixar movie. For anybody like me who grew up watching all the Toy Story movies, Tim Allen will always be Buzz Lightyear. Now, that's nothing against Chris Evans, and I'm not saying Tim Allen's voice would have magically fixed all the other issues I had with this movie, but it definitely would have softened the blow. And since this is a ranking and not a full-on Lightyear review, I'll just kind of do a little in-a-nutshell version of my issues.
Help! I'm in a nutshell! How did I get into this nutshell?
Aside from the voice acting change of Buzz, I just didn't really care for anybody like in his group. I just don't think any of them did anything to stand out, and they're just highly forgettable to me, especially when you compare them to these amazing side characters from the other Toy Story films. There was one character that I even hated, and his name was Mo. Maybe I just have something against Taika Waititi, I don't know, because I thought he was hands down the worst part in Free Guy, Card. A movie that I otherwise enjoyed. The more I think about Thor Love and Thunder, Card, the more I really start disliking more things in that film, and I just absolutely hated him in this as well.
Hated it.
He was definitely meant to have a lot of the comedic moments within this movie, but honestly, I didn't laugh at a single thing he said. And on top of that, Mo is just so incompetent. That's meant to be played like, hey, isn't this hilarious? Look at all the hijinks he's getting them into. No, it's not funny, it's infuriating. I honestly felt like I was back in 1999 watching Jar Jar Binks screw everything up in The Phantom Menace.
Don't touch anything.
How rude.
The big, like, villain twist in this movie also kind of fell flat for me. They had a chance to make a great villain here with Zurg, and all they had to do was make him Buzz's father. Toy Story 2 literally gave them the blueprint, and they still screwed it up. I have more than I could say, but I'll just say that Lightyear definitely doesn't have the same charm that the other Toy Story movies have. It didn't feel like Buzz with the voice actor change. None of these side characters were funny or memorable in any way, besides Socks.
I can provide sleep sounds if you like. I have several options. Summer night, ocean paradise, whale call.
And it just has a serious villain problem. Zurg was easily the weakest villain in the franchise, and Lightyear is easily the weakest film. Now, before I give my pick for number 4, which I'm sure is going to upset some people, just understand that every movie from this point on to me is incredible, almost a flawless animated film. This would literally be the worst tier list of all time, because it would be like S, 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 I don't know, C. Oh boy, here we go. Coming in at number 4, and trust me, this hurts to say, is the original Toy Story from 1995.
You disgust me. You disgust everyone.
Now, I absolutely adore this film. It made me the Toy Story fan that I am today. It was a game changer for animated films as a whole. It was the first collaboration between Disney and Pixar, and it was the first animated film to be 100% computer generated. And even after breaking new ground for the genre, it didn't stop there. It was actually an amazing movie. It gave us great lead characters with Woody and Buzz, both with their own motivations.
I've set my laser from stun to kill.
Ah, great, great. Yeah, and if anyone attacks us, we can blink them to death.
It gave us amazing side characters with Jim Varney as Slinky, Don Rickles as Mr. Potato Head, and Wallace Shawn as Rex, just to name a few. These voices are so ingrained in my childhood nostalgia that the thought of anybody else playing them is just, well,
Inconceivable.
Inconceivable!
Inconceivable!
what really set this movie apart from other animated films of its time is that Woody and Buzz just feel like real three-dimensional characters with serious nuance to them. At the beginning of this movie, we see that Woody is the leader of all these toys. He's clearly Andy's favorite. And then Andy has a birthday party, and he gets himself a Buzz Lightyear action figure, and Woody is replaced. We get to see this jealousy from Woody manifest almost into like a genuine hatred for Buzz. And with that, we get our central conflict.
Hey, guys, look! It's the real Buzz Lightyear!
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Oh, no. Buzz, look, an alien! Where? Ah!
Now, Buzz, on the other hand, doesn't really care about like getting Andy's affection because he spends the movie thinking he's an actual space ranger, despite Woody telling him over and over again that he's a toy. Woody and Buzz arguing at the gas station is still one of the funniest moments in this entire series.
You are a child's plaything!
You are a sad, strange little man.
And then in the third act, Buzz sees this commercial about himself on TV and realizes that Woody's been right about everything. He is just a child's plaything. Or an adult's. We spend the 80-minute runtime seeing Woody and Buzz go through complete character arcs where they realize that neither one of them are as important as they thought they were, but in very different ways. We see them go from enemies to friends, and it feels earned. And to me, this movie was just unlike anything that came before it in the animated world. It's fun, it's funny, it's charming, but more than that, it shows characters facing like these real moral dilemmas. It's like you don't know if this is a kid's movie made for adults or an adult movie made for kids.
You just blew my fucking mind.
Obviously, the entire Toy Story series is so good at hitting these emotional notes, and that all started right here with this first entry. Woody trapped in that milk crate talking about being a dumb toy.
I mean, what chance does a toy like me have against a Buzz Lightyear action figure? Why would Andy ever want to play with me when he's got you?
Gets me every time. If I had to say anything negative with this movie, the animation doesn't really hold up during a 2022 rewatch. The humans in this movie look like the most terrifying mannequins, and Sid's dog looks real bad. And then I think all the future installments captured that sense of adventure just a little bit better. Now, I know this at number 4 will upset some people, but this is still one of my favorite animated movies of all time. Up next at number 3 is gonna be Toy Story Part 4. Now, when this movie was announced, I was like every other person on the planet just asking, why?
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 What? Why?
Why?
Like, you made arguably the perfect trilogy, so why risk that with this pointless 4th installment?
Why would they do this?
But then I watched this movie, and it clicked. If Toy Story 3 is the end of Andy's story, then this is the end of Woody's. To me, this is a movie about moving on after you feel like you've served your purpose, be that raising your children, retiring from your career, or whatever that means to you. It's a movie that explains why sometimes even the most selfless people have to be selfish and put your own happiness first. And it's a movie about, unfortunately, some of the friends you lose while you're growing up. And all of my doubts about this entry literally faded during the first scene, which was heartbreaking when Woody decided to stay with Andy instead of going with Bo Peep.
What's best for Andy is
Woody, I'm not Andy's toy.
What?
I was tearing up less than 5 minutes into this runtime, and actually out of all these films, I think this is the one that strikes the best balance between the humor and the emotion. Obviously, Toy Story 3 just throws haymaker after haymaker at you like in the final 25 minutes. I feel like it's a little more spread out here, which is nice. We get some great new characters here between Forky, Ducky, Bunny, and of course, Duke Kaboom, the greatest stuntman in Canada.
Me.
Duke Kaboom, Canada's greatest stuntman. Huh. Oh yeah. Huh. Huh.
Gabby Gabby may be my favorite quote-unquote villain of the entire franchise, just because there's so much complexity to her. She's not really a villain at all. She's actually quite a sympathetic character that's just played up as the villain during the second act. And that, my friends, is called a misdirect. Bo Peep is an absolute badass in this movie, and me personally, I loved Woody's decision to stay with her. Some people felt like it was out of his character to make that decision, but I think that was kind of the point. Like, Bonnie had moved on from him as a toy, and instead of collecting dust in her closet, for once in his life, Woody chose his own happiness. Emotionally, this ending rivaled Toy Story 3 for me. The thing that really bothered me about this entry is Buzz. And this is kind of a twofold problem. The first being that he was sorely underutilized in the movie, and second being when he was on screen, for whatever reason, they really dumbed his character down. It just kind of felt like most of his character development from the past 3 films just kind of went out the window. But honestly, if it wasn't for my issues with Buzz's character, this would be in consideration for my number 1. I enjoyed it that much. In at number 2, and my runner-up for best movie in the franchise, is gonna be Toy Story 2. And this came out during a time when a lot of animated sequels went straight to video and weren't necessarily considered canon. Think Return of Jafar and Simba's Pride. But this movie got a theatrical release, and it fully deserved it. This is one of those rare examples, at least to me, of a sequel that's even better than the original. This took everything that Toy Story did, and it just elevated it to the next level. The characters were more fleshed out and fully realized. The world was larger in scale, and it felt more lived in. And with this releasing 4 years after the original, obviously the animation looked a lot better. It was definitely a bold choice here to split up Buzz and Woody after they played off each other so well in the first movie. But it was a decision that worked, clearly, because they would go on to split them up in every movie going forward to some extent. I loved our human antagonist, Al, but I also loved that for the first time, they showed us a bad toy in Stinky Pete the Prospector. Like I mentioned earlier, every movie after the original got that sense of adventure down a little bit better to me, and this might be the best example of that. Buzz interacting with the rest of the gang and doing this search and rescue for Woody was a lot of fun, and it gave a ton of memorable moments, with the highlights probably being everything inside Al's toy barn, and of course the elevator shaft.
Hang tight, everyone. I'm going to let go of the wall.
What? He wouldn't.
1,
He would.
2, 3.
I was also a big fan of the role reversal here, like where in the first movie, Buzz was the one suffering from this identity crisis. In the sequel, Woody's the one that doesn't know how important of a toy he is. He doesn't know that he's the rootinest, tootinest cowboy in the wild, wild west. Right, Buzz? I wanted it to be Jesse. I don't have a Jesse. There we go. And since we've talked about a few already, this movie introduced a ton of new characters. Obviously, you have Joan Cusack playing Jessie. You have Kelsey Grammer playing Stinky Pete the Prospector. I just like saying that. You have Bullseye. You have Buzz's arch nemesis, Emperor Zurg. You have Mrs. Costanza, Ann Newman from Seinfeld. I think somebody's a Seinfeld fan. And of course, before there was Spanish Buzz, there was Utility Belt Buzz.
He's been trained by Zurg himself to mimic my every move.
Jessie's entire backstory of being abandoned by her human is absolutely one of the saddest sequences of this entire franchise. Damn you, Sarah McLachlan. Toy Story 2 is just damn near a perfect movie. The only reason it's number 2 on this list is because it belongs to the greatest animated franchise of all time. And of course, by process of elimination, the number 1 spot in the Toy Story franchise is Toy Story 3. As I mentioned before, emotionally this movie will just wreck you in the final 20 minutes. But unlike other movies that shall remain nameless, that tend to be overrated just because they have a strong ending, hey, I didn't name it, I showed it. Toy Story 3 is solid from beginning to end. This is just a great concept for what was supposed to be the end of this franchise. We get this reveal of a grown-up Andy on his way to college, deciding what he wants to do with the last of the toys that he's held on to throughout the years. And after some confusion, the whole gang ends up in a daycare, which on paper seems like a perfect fit. Andy's too old to be playing with them anyways. Buzz Lightyear, self-star command. To infinity and beyond. But they quickly learn that the children here do not
Play nice.
And the seemingly friendly Lotso actually runs this daycare with an iron fist. Or a cotton fist. There's just so much to love with this entry. I love the dynamic of a group divided, where almost everybody wants to stay at the daycare because Andy's clearly going to college and growing up, he's moving on. They're trying to move on as well. But Woody's loyalty will not allow him to do it.
Our mission with Andy's complete, Woody. What? And what's important now is we stay together.
Lotso is a great villain, up there probably tied with Gabby Gabby for my favorite in the franchise. He has pretty good motivation for disliking humans, but he definitely gaslights the rest of these toys to share his beliefs. Is Lotso a dictator? Anyways, I love how they just went for it with his character and made him full-on evil. Like even near the end of the movie, when he could do the right thing and redeem himself, which I feel like a lot of animated movies would opt for, he's still a total dick.
Push it! Push it! Where's your kid now, Sheriff? No.
Every one of these films has a slightly different tonal feel to them, and this one's probably my favorite, with the toys trying to escape the daycare. Gives it a total Prison Break vibe. And as a huge Shawshank Redemption fan, you know I love that. They spread the screen time so well here that every character is given their moments to shine. And then between the eerie way that they shot Lotso's backstory, like with the black and white, that creepy monkey watching the cameras, and then that scary ass baby doll. This is the most unsettling and horror atmosphere we've gotten since Sid's room from the original. Another plus in my book. Toy Story 3 is hilarious, with all the usual antics between our existing characters, a bunch of great new characters like Lotso, Trixie, Dolly, Ken, Mr. Pricklepants, the greatest name ever, and then the aforementioned Spanish Buzz. You combine all that with quite possibly the greatest 30 minutes in animation history, featuring one scene in a garbage dump that scared the hell out of everybody watching. And one of the most bittersweet yet emotionally satisfying endings of all time, and I'm talking animated or live action films. And you have my favorite movie of this entire franchise, and a movie that can make an argument as the greatest animated film ever made. But that's gonna do it for my review of all the Toy Story movies. As always, let me know what your ranking looks like down in the comments below. Tell me why I'm wrong, or maybe why you agree with one or two of my controversial opinions. And if you want to see the companion piece to this video, check out my podcast I do with 3 of my best friends, Culture Shocked Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We actually just did an episode talking about the entire franchise. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing right over here so you don't miss any future content. I'll put a few of my other videos right over here so you can see what else my channel's all about. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.